All right, let's talk about histamine intolerance or a histamine reaction. One of the common things I hear from people is that they'll eat certain foods and then they have almost a histamine reaction to it, meaning they can get a runny nose, they can get a little bit itchiness, and we want to blame it on the foods. And that can be part of the problem. But in this video, I'm going to show you a different way to think about it and a different way to tackle it. But first, we have to start with just a real quick overview of histamine and what's going on at a 35,000 foot view. So histamine, it's naturally produced in your body, but it's also naturally broken down in your body. So we have to keep this balance like so many other things in our body. And when it gets out of balance, if we have too much buildup, you're going to run into these histamine issues. So the first place I would start is making sure that you're supporting your body to be able to break down histamine. So let's talk about what that process is and how you can help that process. So how do we improve histamine breakdown? So histamine is broken down in your body through two enzymes. One of those, and the most important one, is called diamine oxidase, DAO, and DAO is primarily in your gut, okay? So I'll encounter a lot of people who have histamine issues who have poor gut health. We'll talk more about how to address that. It can also be broken down in your central nervous system through an enzyme called n-methyltransferase. But again, I'm going to focus more on DAO. It's a little bit more important. Now, when you encounter people, or if you have gut or metabolism issues like a low thyroid, constipation, you can see more of these symptoms, and they can be flushing, like we talked about, hives, headache, blood pressure issues, edema, even anxiety. Okay, those are some of the hallmark symptoms. Now, the thing about that enzyme, DAO, is it's very dependent on some certain nutrients. The main one being copper. Also, vitamin C is important, the B vitamins, also magnesium. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting and where you can really help yourself, is that copper is actually a central component of that DAO enzyme. Okay, so it makes sense, well, you could eat more copper and that would help, consume more copper rich foods, that can help, but that copper needs plasmin. Okay, ceruloplasmin is essentially a carrier protein, but plasmin needs vitamin A, natural vitamin A, retinol. Okay, so we can see a lot of this process is dependent on getting the right amounts of nutrients in your body. Okay, and how do we do that? Obviously, big, reveal here, it's your diet. And so what diets are going to help you be able to break down histamine more? Well, we have to start with these foods that are high, particularly in vitamin A, copper, magnesium, those sorts of things. And primarily, the big one that I would recommend for most people, try to consume more organ meats. You don't have to eat a ton every day. I'm not saying that, but they're very rich in these nutrients. Are going to help you break down histamine more. Okay. The second choice, if you absolutely can't tolerate liver, which is the case with some people, you can do a desiccated liver supplement. I'll include a link to one that I recommend in the description. There are other things that you might be doing that can lead to a low activity of that enzyme. First and foremost, if you're on a severely restricted diet, you're trying to lose weight, you're going to be taking in less nutrients. You're also going to be converting less of that food you eat into actual energy. Okay, people tend to think about this stuff the wrong way. We don't want to withhold from your body. We want to provide your body with the nutrients it needs to fuel these processes, like the enzyme to break down histamine. If it doesn't have the nutrients, it's not going to break it down. People with bowel issues, slow moving bowel, intestinal overgrowth, SIBO, those sorts of things, when you have a slow bowel, okay, it's going to slow things down. You're going to have gut problems. And remember, DAO is in your gut. So we want to be able to speed that process up. We want to consume foods that are easily digestible. This is one of the reasons that people consuming a lot of, cruciferous vegetables can slow things down. We don't want that. We want you having 1 to 3 bowel movements a day. If not, we need to address the diet, introduce more easily digestible foods. The other thing to think about, going back to our copper discussion, okay, When you fix that copper and vitamin A issue, that's going to allow your body to recycle iron in your gut. That's also going to help gut motility. So all this stuff works together, you guys. Prescription medications. There are certain classes that can lower DAO activity. I've listed a few there. Also stress. Okay, so there's seldom one thing, but it all starts with your lifestyle and especially your diet. Okay. Can you regulate histamine production? So we've talked about breaking down histamine, improving your ability to do that. That is the most important thing. But there is something to be said for not producing more histamine unnecessarily. Again, a slow moving bowel can cause an increase in histamine release. So again, we're going back to those foods that are easy to digest rather than hard. You can consume foods that are lower in histamine, and sometimes that can be helpful. But for example, say you consume chicken, which is generally considered low histamine. If you cook it a certain way, for example, if you grill it, that histamine content actually increases. If you boil chicken, the histamine goes down even more. So there's some nuance there. Let's see here. Let's talk about supplements. Can supplements help? Because that was part of the question. They can be helpful. Vitamin C can help. Quercetin's shown some ability to possibly help with that. But again, that's kind of not really going to do the job. We want to hit it from a nutritional perspective, like we talked about above. So hopefully this made sense why you want to assist your body to break down histamine. That's usually the thing that's going to help you the most. Let me know in the comments other topics that would be helpful for me to cover. I really appreciate the feedback. I hope this was helpful, guys. I'll see you in the next one.